Eddie Reynoso, longtime friend, trainer, and manager of Canelo, he let it be known then that Canelo Álvarez will not fight on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th or whatever day it lies on, May 4th, 3rd of 2026. Instead, he is going to try to fight in September, and he's pursuing Terence.
The king of boxing has stepped off his throne, at least for now. For the first time in more than 5 years, the sport's biggest star is walking away from a date that practically bears his name. Cinco de Mayo weekend, a slot that has become synonymous with Canelo Álvarez, will sit empty in 2026. But this silence isn't about rest or vacation. Strategic. Reports confirm Canelo is shelving a May return to focus on one man, the fighter who didn't just beat him in September 2025, but shattered the aura of invincibility he spent decades building. The target is September 2026, and the stakes couldn't be higher. In boxing, dates matter, and Cinco de Mayo is the most valuable real estate in the sport.
Division world champion Mexican superstar boxer, former two-time undisputed super middleweight Saúl Canelo Alvarez sends a message through his longtime trainer, mentor, and father figures, Eddie Reynoso and Chapo Reynoso, who have been training him for 20 years. And Canelo Álvarez, he lets it be known that the boxing world is calling for him to retire after his performance with Terence Bud Crawford in September, but he stated that he is indeed going to push forward. He wants to become a world champion again. He wants to recapture what he left in the ring with Terence Crawford in September, and he plans to also continue to honor the two Mexican holidays that he has been fighting on, which is Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day weekend. And he says, see you guys.
Canelo to voluntarily abandon that weekend tells you everything about his mindset. This isn't a routine pause. It's a retreat. By vacating his traditional slot, Canelo is quietly admitting that business as usual is over. The machine that delivered blockbuster fights year after year has finally stalled. Something fundamental has changed.
To the news, but Canelo Álvarez wants Terence Crawford rematch, says negotiations are underway for 2026. Now, first off, I expect nothing less from Canelo. He wants to get that fight back because, well, number one, it's a somewhat advantageous matchup at 168 for him, and there's not many other matchups at 168 for Canelo right now that offer him any sort of advantages. Imagine you try to put him in there with the Hamza Shiraz or someone with a bigger frame, longer, taller. I mean, even David Benavidez, before he went and knocked out and absolutely smoked Anthony Yard, was saying, you know, I'm still entertaining the potential of a Canelo fight. There's not many other people at 168. I mean, maybe if you did Chris Eubank Jr., but after he loses to Conor Benn, what does that fight really even mean? Canelo says, I want my run back. I want my get back, but I gotta be honest, I don't know how this goes well for Canelo in a rematch. Honestly, you look at the first fight, and the things that plagued Canelo were essentially the things that plague him against most boxers. His flat feet, his lack of movement, his lack of volume. He couldn't get to Terence. He was overextending. He was getting caught with counter shots as he overextended. The big shown around, memed, and replayed moment of the fight is Canelo trying to throw a hook and a right hand, and Terence Crawford slipping on the outside and banging the left-hand counter behind it. Canelo was beaten to the punch from distance. He was beaten in exchanges, and even at points in the fight, he was beaten inside by Terence Crawford. This was I wouldn't say dominant, but I would say more one-sided than I thought.
The decision has sent shockwaves through the boxing world because it signals vulnerability, something we rarely associate with Canelo. Normally, he dictates the calendar. Networks, venues, and opponents adjust to him. But after losing his undisputed super middleweight crown, that leverage is gone. Eddie Reynoso confirmed the team will not fight in May. It's a major break from a long-standing pattern and suggests the camp knows another underwhelming performance could be disastrous. They're sacrificing immediate money for a chance at long-term redemption.
To make a change, I think I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, you know, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit. But don't give up. Keep going until you.
Behind the scenes, the situation is more serious than wounded pride. This delay is largely medical. After the brutal loss to Terence Crawford in September 2025, Canelo underwent elbow surgery, one of the toughest recoveries for a power puncher. This wasn't a minor procedure. It required reconstruction and extensive rehab. At 35 years old, the body doesn't heal like it once did.
You know what, sometimes you try and your body cannot go, right? That's my frustration. Maybe I can figure out Crawford, but my body cannot go anymore. So I try it, but my body just not let me go. And you need to accept it. That's it.
If Canelo returns in September 2026, it will mark a full year of inactivity, his longest layoff since the global shutdowns of 2020. For a fighter built on rhythm and consistency, that's a massive risk. Ring rust is real. Sitting out while your rival stays sharp can be a recipe for disaster. But the wear and tear of over 60 professional fights has caught up. Canelo is choosing between a rushed comeback that could end his career or a long layoff that could cost him relevance.
He did get elbow surgery on his lead elbow. This was on October 25th. Apparently also had a new child, so congrats to Canelo on the new baby. But he also had the elbow surgery. He is now, I guess, rehabbing that. 4 to 6 weeks for him to resume training, so it's not getting in the way of something in 2026. But what I realistically think Canelo could and should and would do differently for this fight is he would have to fight Terence Crawford like he fought Sergey Kovalev at 175. That's genuinely what he would have to do. He'd have to be lighter on his feet, he'd have to throw more combinations, and he'd have to be quicker with his hands, as he was in that fight. And I'm not saying that he changes everything about himself. Canelo had success in moments with Bud Crawford, but that's what he would have to do, and some, right? He would have to be able to add layers to his game and not be so flat-footed. And if he's going to combination punch, he's got to do so in the fire with Terence Crawford, which going into the first fight, I didn't think Terence Crawford was going to have as much success with his combination punching because he'd have to be in front of the powerful hands of Canelo. But again, he was able to do so off the back foot and front because Canelo threw one at a time. He threw the jab or the right hand, or he threw the hook right hand. And again, Terence Crawford remained mostly southpaw, which does give Canelo problems because now he has to lead with his backhand versus punctuate with it, and his jab gets neutralized, and it's just a mess of a fight for Canelo. It really is. I don't hate that he wants to get that back, and the matchup itself is, again, one of the only ones that Canelo can still have. Make a shit ton of money and potentially not completely kill his star power should he lose. He still has, I think, a couple more fights with the Ring Magazine and Riyadh season that he needs to fulfill his contract. So if he's able...
Despite the surgery and extended break, the focus has narrowed to one obsession. No tune-up fights. No confidence builders. Eddie Reynoso has been clear. Plan A is Terence "Bud" Crawford. This is the only fight that matters. It's a revealing look at Canelo's psychology. Most fighters would ease back in after surgery and a loss. Canelo is doing the opposite. He wants the man who embarrassed him. That September 2025 defeat wasn't controversial. It was a unanimous decision masterclass. Crawford moved up 2 weight classes and still looked superior. Canelo is ignoring every other contender at 168 and betting everything on one rematch. If he loses again, the Canelo era is over.
Terence Crawford and Canelo Álvarez is the rematch. Because where does Canelo go from here now? He's got a guy stepping up from welterweight, serving him up a bit of a whooping, because that's what it was. And now he's got, like, where does he go? He can't really compete up at light heavyweight because Bivol's done him. Benavidez has gone up to there now, and I don't think that's a fight he's going to fancy. I feel like a lot of people are saying he swerved that Benavidez fight, so I don't think he's going to want to go up to light heavyweight and fight him. So it's like the only sensible option, or the only real option, is the rematch. And that's the same for Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford's now 168 pounds. Who does he fight? Who does he go for next? It's difficult. There's no other real big names. I mean, there's a kid in England called Hamza Shiraz who's tapping on the door for something big. And I had a chat with him yesterday, and he's talking about the Canelo fight, and he'd take that. But realistically, is Canelo Álvarez or Terence Crawford going to want to jump in with Hamza Shiraz? I mean, Shiraz has got a great future ahead of him. I think he's going to do really well. But he's not in that mix, is he? If he gets an opportunity, go for it. I don't think Crawford would be interested. Canelo, it does nothing for him. So these two, really, the only fight for him is the rematch. For me, that's the only real, feasible option that I could see where I'd say, yeah, you know what? This is a fight where the fans may or may not get hold of it. But for me, I don't even want to see it. Terence Crawford dominated that fight so much. And I know it was a little bit nip-tuck at times, but when you look at the art of pugilism and the skill set that came from Terence Crawford and the way he dismantled, dissected and beat him at his own game towards the end, took Canelo on and beat him at his own game. Terence Crawford kind of it was an easy night's work for him, dare I say, an easy night's work against Canelo Alvarez. And I don't want to rain on this parade, but Canelo is definitely past his best.
The problem is challengers don't control the narrative. And Terence Crawford is making sure Canelo feels that shift. When news surfaced about the rematch target, Crawford brushed it off, saying, "That's new news to me." It was subtle but brutal. Canelo can chase the fight all he wants. Crawford holds the cards now. The power dynamic has completely flipped.
Last thing, Canelo said that he might bypass May for a rematch with you in September. Your thoughts?
That's new news for me.
Yeah. Would you be open to the rematch?
Crawford sits on top of the sport with options that don't involve waiting for a recovering Canelo. He can move up again or chase further unifications. He doesn't need Canelo to validate his legacy, he already did that. This indifference is new for Alvarez. For years the boxing world revolved around him. Now he's the one waiting. And if that wasn't enough, financial demands may derail the fight entirely. Rumors from Crawford's camp suggest the rematch price has skyrocketed, numbers approaching $100 million. From Crawford's perspective, it makes sense. He already beat the cash cow. If they want him again, they'll pay a premium.
But Terence Crawford deserves it. And he's demanding that he gets $100 million. As he should. As he should. He has more to lose than Canelo Álvarez. And he can get a legacy fight at middleweight to now, I don't want to say pad his stats, but to pad his stats. If he competes at middleweight, right, and becomes undisputed at middleweight, that'll make him a 4-division undisputed champion and a 6-division champion overall, right? He has more to gain than Canelo Álvarez, right? And he has more to lose, right? So the fight did, Saul Canelo Alvarez did 45,812,000 live gate, right? And nearly 65,000 people in attendance. So with that said, as I'm saying, right, it was very successful. Now, because of the way the fight really wasn't that competitive, I don't know. The demand is not there for the fight. It's just not. Right? People are not interested. They saw what they saw. You can't unsee it. And then people immediately started to tell you that Canelo Álvarez ain't the same guy. Right? So with that said, you saw what you saw. You can't unsee it. And it only gets worse for Canelo. Because again, it's a stylistic matchup issue. Period.
This puts promoters and networks in a bind. Can a rematch justify a 9-figure payout for one fighter? The first bout was massive, but the sequel carries less mystery. We've already seen Crawford dominate. Negotiations are likely to be messy. Canelo is used to taking the lion's share, but if he wants redemption badly enough, he may have to accept less. Money could be the biggest obstacle of all.
Canelo Alvarez. Why the hell was old Canelo Alvarez take the rematch? All right, why would he start negotiating? I'm gonna tell you why. He's a competitor. And there's a few things going on here. Number one, there was a rematch clause. And I do know right after the fight, so Canelo Alvarez was like, there was nothing I could do with it. But I think what happens is you start to sit back. Let me look at the fights. Let me think about this. The fight was closer than I thought. That's what Canelo's thinking, right? Because technically it was. All right, when you think about the copy box, and shit, put a pin in that. We all know Terence Crawford whooped that man's ass 11 rounds to 1 in reality, all right? But if you count, punches, landed or copy by, statistically, technically, it was a closer fight, okay? Now, Saul Canelo Alvarez also, last time you saw him, he's, nursing and recovering from an elbow surgery, which he had an elbow injury going into the fight. So, you start thinking about stuff like that. I'm talking about if you Canelo, why would you say, let's go ahead with the rematch. I think I got a shot. All right, being a competitor for one. All right, and number two, the fight was closer technically than you thought because you were in there. And in there, you felt like you were getting your ass whipped. And number three, you went in there nursing an elbow injury. So it's like, I think I may have a chance if I'm 100% healthy, all right? He feels the same way about Bivol because he had a wrist injury going into the Bivol fight. So it's just, you start You think about all those things, and like, yeah, let me give myself a shot. All right. But I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. What I'm gonna do is get my 20 grand back.
If the fight happens, the real question is simple. Can Canelo win? Manny Pacquiao weighed in with a brutal assessment. He said Canelo looked slow and heavy in the first fight. His advice was drastic. Shed muscle to regain speed and fluidity. Extra size didn't help. It turned Canelo into a stationary target. Making that adjustment at 35 is risky. Losing muscle can drain strength and durability. But the blueprint is clear. Walking forward and hunting one big shot doesn't work against a technician like Crawford. Canelo would need to reinvent himself and turn back the clock 5 years. Something very few athletes ever manage.
The thing that bothered me, there's only one thing that really did bother me. And that's why I don't want a rematch, I'll be honest. I've been in this business 50 years, too long to fool myself. Those judges should be really, they got to look in the mirror to have it that close. There's no way it was that close. Thank God he dominated. Because otherwise we might be here talking a whole different thing and really going nuts. And I would definitely break this thing.
Yes, you would. I believe you.
And maybe that. And I'd owe money. And I couldn't care. I would pay it. But at the end of the day, that's why I don't want to see it again. He dominated, and the judges had it that close.
Yeah.
Give the judges another shot at it. Forget about the fighters. I don't want to give the judges another shot at it. How's that? I know a lot of people love me for that, but what are you going to do? I'm going to always say what I believe.
Yeah.
Look, so the issue with Canelo tonight was his feet were too slow. All right. He was looking for looping shots. He didn't throw enough punches at all. Couldn't get his jab established at all. And when you can't get your jab established, it's hard to land your power shots. He was looking to time Crawford. Crawford had the longer reach. He was keeping him at bay, and over the course of Canelo's career, especially the back end, he's got accustomed to fighting a certain style. Keeping his hands up high, walking forward, and Crawford made him pay for that. Years ago, when Canelo first came on the scene, he had more upper body movement. He moved his legs a lot better. He can counterpunch a lot effectively off the back foot, off the front foot. He did a little bit more. He just got really complacent with one style, and it came back to hunt him. He had no plan B. He had no other options. Crawford took everything away from him. And there were even moments where he would bag up and try to regroup himself, and Crawford knew exactly what he was doing. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're going to take a walk? That's fine. Eat this jab. Not allowing Canelo just to relax. So, look, spectacular performance by Crawford. Canelo, I think this is it for him, to be honest with you.
Public opinion isn't on Canelo's side. Fans on Reddit and social media believe the gap between the two fighters was simply too wide. Crawford didn't just win. He exposed Canelo's struggles against elite movement and switch hitting. Many see the 2026 date as too late. Both men will be older, but Canelo has far more mileage. Some fans even believe this is a calculated cash-out, one final payday before retirement. If Canelo truly believed he could win, why wait a year? September 2026 will define his legacy. He's gambling everything, his tradition, his health, and his place in history. If he wins, he cements greatness. If not, this won't be a comeback. It will be a farewell. The countdown has begun, and for the first time, the outcome isn't in Canelo's control.